Rocky Vertone with full circle frameworks.
Yeah.
You just moved.
Yeah, I moved March 1st. I had been in my other space for almost 18 years. So I was like, cool, this is kind of cool. And my dogs were totally freaking out and like they didn't like it. It just was weird being in a new place.
Yeah. Your frame shop was actually one of my introductions to sort of like the art gallery scene. I think that's how I met you. In the Jackson Hole art world, I think you've created sort of a scene that wasn't there before.
Yeah. I mean, I used to have the gallery with the shop, which was super cool. So yeah, I mean, I guess you could say I kind of created a little niche, but there's definitely a lot of other, well, mostly galleries. I don't know any other frame shop doing what I did. No. Yeah, I always wanted to showcase local art and art that wasn't normally shown here in Jackson, and kind of like underground art scene. And so it's weird to think like that was so long ago, but I mean, I kind of miss those days, having the gallery and having shows and doing the work in progress shows and all that stuff. But it's all good, moving forward always, and just trying to do something different every time. And I mean, my shop's essentially the same. I kind of wanted to maybe try to do something this summer, sometime in May, but a grand reopening.
Are you going to be able to fit a bunch of people into that new?
Yeah, I mean, I have there's like a big parking lot out front here, so it's perfect for an event. I can keep it outdoor and indoor. Like if you look, this is the new space. Can you see that? I mean, it's long and narrow, but it's great. It has high ceilings, which is really nice. And then there's like a workspace in the back there. It's perfect. It's great. It's kind of like has this like city warehouse feel to it, really. The indoor space, not the outside, but
the outside opens up onto the parking lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's like perfect. I'll have shows. I'll have events. Whether I do a work in progress event, that'd be great.
Well, I met you at one of your gallery shows. My family ended up with a Travis Walker, and we brought it to you.
Yeah.
I think that was the first time I'd seen, art and it getting framed. And yeah, so you made an impression on me.
Nice. That's cool, man. I do remember that, actually. It's pretty amazing what art could do for people, and especially framing it. And, it's a forever piece, right? So it's cool to, to hear that and see that I can like do that for somebody, It is just picture framing sometimes. I'm like, it's just picture framing. I'm a pretty simple picture framer. I mean, I get into certain, techie framing projects, which is great. I've been doing it for 20 years, so hopefully you like it. There's so many different ways to frame stuff, everything's by hand.
It's like a craft for you.
I'm not a frame shop that does like dovetail corners and stuff like that. And just like handmade. I've done handmade frames, and I'm still doing them, but as simple as they are. I'm not trying to like aesthetically make something that the corners, just that route, like a dovetail corner. Like I don't have that equipment to do that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So, and I've run into that a few times with some people, and I'm like, it's not that kind of frame shop. I don't do that. I don't mount pictures on aluminum. You know what I mean? Like I don't do that stuff. And plus, being in Jackson Hole, it's a little different. Our resources are pretty limited sometimes, so I'm not trying to like completely wreck my brain and try to make this piece work for somebody because they want it on aluminum, or they want this mounting and this shadow box, or this my friend in LA did this and that. I'm like, I like, that's cool, that kind of stuff is cool, but that's like, okay, I'm gonna get totally crazy with the triple mat, this and that, and museum glass. I mean, I use museum glass, of course, but like I want to keep it as real and as simple as possible. Yeah, I mean I'm still only basically working with 4 corners, and that's totally fine, but like, and still make it look really good. And that's just bottom line. Like I don't try to over frame anything. I just don't. That was never my whole scene anyway. And every once in a while we'll do some crazy gaudy gold frame or some big ornate frame on a photograph, and it's cool. But like I don't know. I guess I'm not really in the business of like that kind of whole scene. Like I am kind of like, I'm not turn and burn. You know what I mean? Like, all right, let's get this piece in here and do it as fast as we can. I'll make as much money as possible. There's a time and place for all that stuff. I carry, in stock molding, and I don't know if many other, there's only 2 other shops here at this point in Jackson Hole. I don't know if those guys have that. If they buy boxes of molding and use that, like, okay, I have this molding in stock. I can give it to you for this price, and it looks really good, right? We put a mat on it, and I give them a good price because I know I can, because I get prices reduced when I buy in bulk, right? So that's the way I think. I mean, yeah, it's easy. I could just like bash these pieces out, and that's totally cool. But What I'm saying is that like it'll still look really good. I wouldn't like steer anybody wrong with like some shitty framing. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put out a bad product here. And I'm sure there's people that have come here over the years that everybody, they love it. It's amazing. And then there's some people that probably hate my framing and they'll never come back again. Wow, okay. It's not like, it's a life and death thing. And I don't know if this is always a good attitude because it probably gets me in trouble, but kind of doing your own thing, be independent. I kind of modeled that throughout my whole life, but I did everything the way I want. And, sometimes it bites me in the ass and sometimes it doesn't. So it's all good. I'm 51 years old and I'm still learning what to do with business and life. I don't think there's ever a time where we, stop growing and learning about what to do and what not to do. Same with this business, sometimes I don't know if I'm doing it right, whatever. It's a good business. It's, I'm able to eat and, kind of just do my thing, but I'm just trying to figure out different ways to make money and learning skills that, you don't normally learn, especially online, content, blogging, websites, branding, stuff like that. I think that's important. And it's important because, you want to have that presence of being like, okay, I'm in this industry and I know what I'm talking about. So people are going to be like, oh, cool. I trust this person. Therefore, I'm going to work with him. Even with this Frameshop, people trust me to, do good work because I have been doing good work. So, and no matter what I say, like, okay, that doesn't look good on this piece or this looks good on this piece, they trust me and say, oh, well, you know what you're doing and let's do this. I trust you. So I did work at a shop in Philadelphia for a couple of years and that's where I learned how to picture frame and I saw business and how it was. And surprisingly here, I get some cool stuff coming through here. It's pretty amazing. And like, it's not always like Western art and stuff like that. I mean, there's less and less Western art coming through here. Sure. Especially now, like Jackson Hole is a pretty uppity spot. Everybody's coming in from LA and San Francisco and framing's not cheap, especially when you're like dealing with like big paintings and, like if you're an artist, you want to get stuff framed and, I want to give the artist discount, right? I mean, I want them to succeed and sell pieces and I can't like not give them a discount, but at the same time, it's like, I still have to make money. And
you have 2 kids and a family and like 5 dogs.
Well, I have 1 kid and 4 dogs, but yes. I've run into that, my whole framing career, trying to give people a fair price. And regardless whether they're an artist or just a regular customer, I think I've always prided myself in giving people good prices, even now. And, it's getting harder and harder now because everything, supplies, your insurance, your electric bill, everything. So it's like, how can I possibly keep my prices low when everything's just like skyrocketed, This woman came in yesterday with a piece and same thing. I was like, oh, you should use this molding. It's really, it looks good with this piece and I have it in stock. And I gave her a price and she was like, oh my God, that's so cheap. I'm like, oh, okay. Do you want me to make it more? So it's one of those things. It's like, she could say, oh, it's really inexpensive. That's awesome. But then the next person would be like, oh man, are you kidding me? That's way too much. And I'm like, so there's a weird balance of like what people expect framing would be. I mean, I've had people walk out.
One person sees a lot of value in a piece, but it really comes down to whether they can afford it. And then somebody else says, I'll give you $100 for something that took you 4 weeks to make. And
right, it's worth the amount that someone wants to pay. Who wants to pay? It's interesting what the value of art is. It's an interesting scene. It's a tough scene, man. Are people going to buy like this photo for $1,500 or they're going to buy an iPhone photo for $20? I actually just had a piece that came back to me after 20 years almost. That Susie, my friend Susie, I did this piece in 1991, but I think I sold it to her in like 2001 or 2. But I never signed it. Yeah, so I signed it. And so she came in a couple weeks ago and she brought that piece in. And I was like, holy crap. And I hadn't seen it in a long time. So I was like, oh man, like it brought back, some good memories because, I mean, I did it in 1991. That's how business should be anyway. I got people to know and trust me. You establish a relationship and you do good work for them and they'll come back. And then you establish, a trust. I mean, I always live by that and that's totally cool. And I'm grateful for the return business all these years, and new business and referrals and all that stuff. So, I try to like give what I can to people to make them come back. Right.
Yeah. So I paint acrylic on canvas.
Right.
Back in 1996. I think I painted my first 2 pieces on paper, acrylic on paper. I finally sold them just now, like a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
I referred someone to you and you brought up the museum glass.
Yeah.
And I know you're not supposed to put glass on top of like an oil painting or an acrylic, but what if you're trying to preserve paper?
Well, that's the thing. That's a different story with paper. Like on a painting, yeah. Normally you don't put glass over on a painting, but paper, yeah, it will eventually go away, especially if the sun hits it. That's where a shadow box comes in. You float pieces or you mat them, and then the glass doesn't hit the piece of paper itself, and that's what you do with that. So
yeah, in my head, you were just gonna smash that glass down onto that painting and just
you hinge the paper onto a mat board, and then whether you float it or you use a cradle mat, there's all kinds of different, there's all kinds of different ways to frame it. If you however tech you want to get, but presentable in the right way, right? You always want to do it the right way.
Yeah, I guess thinking about it, that's what you did with the Travis Walker, because his is a monotype print
right
piece of paper, but then you took a mat and you kind of bordered it, and
right.
It must be floating on that.
Yeah, the glass never hits the piece itself.
Interesting. Well, listen, Rocky, we've been talking for a while.
I know. It's all good. I could tell you all kinds of stories, man. I mean, 20 years in the business, like I said, there's people coming in from all over now in Jackson Hole, right? So the demand it's interesting what people want and how they want it and when they want it. And it doesn't matter how much it costs. And this is for my third house here. I'm like, all right. And that's great. I love hearing that. But I'm like, cool, just bring it in and we'll talk about it. I offer a service, and it's a good quality service and product.
Rocky, it was enjoyable talking to you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for thinking of me. That's awesome. Well, cheers, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, hang in there, and hopefully I'll get to see you in May at your parking lot party. All right.
All right, man. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
See ya.